Welcome to this week's 5 Minutes of Revelation, and today in those 5 minutes I want to encourage you to become God inside minded. And by that I mean that I want you to realize that God is inside you. That it's not your hands anymore in that sense, but that it's God working through your hands. That it's not your mouth anymore, but that it's God speaking through your mouth, God acting through your body. See, because the moment you ask God to come into your life, He moved inside of you. Now it's not you anymore, it's not you doing things in your own ability, it's God who's inside you, and now He can work through you. Now, of course, He doesn't just do this without asking you first or without your permission. You need to become God inside minded. You need to realize that God is there and willing to do that, and then you need to allow Him to do that. See, because with those hands I can do bad things, but with those hands I can also bless people and let God work through me and do good. I have those options. The same with my mouth. I can choose to speak words of blessing. I can choose to speak good words, to encourage people, to lift them up, to spread love with my words. Or I can use my words to bring people down, to make them sad, to make them depressed, to tell them they're worth nothing and they're no good. And then at that moment, it's not God working through me anymore. So you need to let God work through you. You need to release this power of God that's on the inside of you and let it work through you. And to do that, you first of all need to realize that He's inside you and make it practical in your life. See, because God gave me this revelation just as I was driving here. Because from a young age on, I always thought that God is around me and that He's with me. See, I thought that when I'm driving the car, He's sitting in the passenger seat next to me, and that's a nice thought. Or I was thinking if I'm walking, then He's walking right next to me. This is how I imagined it. But then today, as I was driving the car, I thought, well, if I'm driving the car now, and God is sitting next to me, or maybe God is even sitting on the seats behind me, then if something happens, wouldn't He just crash with me? You know, if something happens, then He's on the passenger seat. What can He do from the passenger seat to save me out of the circumstances, to save the people that are around me, that I'm with? What can He do from there? Wouldn't He just crash with me? Or what if He's walking next to me? What can He do about it? He's just next to me. He's not in me, working through me. Do you see what I mean? And then God told me, I'm not sitting in the passenger seat next to you. I'm not sitting in the seats behind you. I am in you. And if you realize this, and if you become aware of this, then I can work through you, and then I can steer this car through you. I can steer this car away from danger through you. I can brake for you when it's necessary. I can accelerate for you if it's necessary. I can work through you to protect those people around you, to protect the people on the road with you. If you realize that I'm not just sitting there on the passenger seat, passive, waiting for something bad to happen and then come and comfort you, if you realize that I'm in you, then I can work through you and I can actually do something about the situation. Do you realize what I mean? And that's what I want you to think about today. Make this practical in your life. Wherever you're going today, whatever you're doing today, think about this fact. Do you just think that God is around you? That God is maybe next to you, maybe behind you, maybe somewhere far above you? Or have you realized that God is in you? And that when you touch something, God is touching it through you, and God wants to be there. God wants you to realize that this is not just your hands anymore. This is not just your mouth anymore. This is not just your feet anymore. But God wants you to realize that He wants to use you and make your feet become His feet. Make your hands become His hands. Make your mouth become His mouth. Make your mind become His mind. Think like Him, act like Him, talk like Him. This is what God called you to do. Jesus told you to go out and do the things that He did and even greater things. Well, how can you do the things that He did in your own ability? If you just think God is next to you and you have to do everything in your ability, by how smart you are, how strong you are, what you're capable of doing. If you think you have to do this all in your own ability, then you will never be able to do the things Jesus did, and you will never be able to do greater things. You will never be able to step into heaven on earth, and you will never be able to live supernatural life. But if you realize that it's God inside you, and if you can say, I am not strong enough, I am not qualified to do this, I am not smart enough to do this by myself, I'm not capable enough of doing this by myself, but I know that God is in me, and God is always in me, and He's always faithful, and He is strong enough, He's smart enough, He's capable enough, He can do all these things. And He's in me, and now I allow Him to work through me, come into my circumstances, change my life. Now He's in me and working through me. If you do that to the outside, it might look like you're just amazing and you're able to do everything. Then there's no problem that you can't overcome. There's no challenge, no mental challenge that you can't face. There's nothing that you can't do. That's what it might look to the outside. But you know, it's just simply God working through you. In your own ability, you couldn't do this, but God is in you. You are God inside minded, and now all of a sudden your life changes and you become able to do everything, to overcome any circumstance, to face any problem, to be protected in all areas, to simply live heaven on earth, because you realize that this is not your hands anymore, that this is not your body anymore, that this is not your mouth anymore or your mind anymore. This belongs to God, and whatever you do, you actively choose to let God work through you. It's an active choice. If you just passive and drift, then your flesh will take over. But if in every situation you actively choose to let God work through you, to let God use your hands, use your mouth, use your mind and your body, use your emotions and whatever you have, then it will bless you. It will bless you greatly, and it will allow you to live in heaven on earth. And that's what I want to encourage you to do today. Whatever your circumstance, whatever you're doing, whatever it is, if you're just typing on your computer, if you're going out for a jog, if you go shopping, whatever it is, think about it. Think about God being inside you, and then think about God working through you to bless others, to bless yourself, and to simply step into heaven on earth. This is what I want to encourage you to do today. Become God inside minded. So take this with you, be blessed by that. Don't forget to read your chapter a day, and I'll see you again next week.